Yeah.
Hello, and a very warm welcome to all of you who are joining us for this Google Hangout, which is part of the MOOC on risk and opportunity based on the World Development Report 2014. Thanks to many of you who sent questions in advance. I think we received over 200 questions, so we won't be able to answer everything, but if we don't get to your question, then please do continue the discussion on the discussion forums in the week ahead. With me today, I have Norman Loaiza, who was the director of the World Development Report 2014. Cesar Calderon, who is an expert in macroeconomic issues and was also an author of the World Development Report 2014. Stefan Alagat, who is a sustainable development and climate change expert and also an author of the report. And I think many of you already know me from the course. I'm one of the senior facilitators, and I was also an author of the World Development Report. So we'll spend about half of the time this morning discussing questions that were received in advance, and then we'll move on to take some questions that we're receiving live during the discussion. I wanted to start with maybe a more general question, which maybe, Norman, you can address. It was received from Lois Porter. So he says, risk often has such negative connotations. It's associated with the financial sector, it's associated with greed. So how can we present risk in positive terms?
Well, I think the key aspect that we have to underscore for positive being, for risk to be something positive is innovation. In almost every new enterprise, in almost every new aspect of life where we want to do things differently, when we want to innovate, we have to assume certain risks. We have to assume that the enterprise that we undertake may go wrong, and that's the negative aspect. But it's always accompanied by this positive possibility. And it was Joseph Schumpeter, a great economist at the beginning of the 1900s, that told us that the engine of growth is innovation. And but for this engine of growth to happen, we really needed a process of entry and exit of firms. And the entry and exit implies, of course, that some firms will fail, and with that, losses might occur. But without this process, no growth will occur. In fact, there is more recently a professor at Harvard Business School called Clayton Christensen, who has written an interesting book that I recommend to everyone. It's called The Innovator's Dilemma. And he explains in that book how innovations have taken place in recent years. And this has been mostly by people taking very large risks on new enterprises. But let's not exaggerate and say that all risks are worth taking. There are many risks that we should refrain from. For instance, driving while under the influence of alcohol is a risk that no one should take. Or governments that are trying to support untested enterprises or through industrial policies. That's also a risk that is very questionable. But having said that, I will point out what I said at the beginning, that innovation makes some risk worth taking.
So this question of balance is actually something that was one of the topics in the discussion forums in the first week that people contributed a lot to. That how can you make the balance between taking on appropriate risk but not taking on too much risk? And lots of people were emphasizing the importance of information, like being informed can help you to make that judgment.
Right.
Well, I think it's not by chance that the report is titled like managing risk for development and not reducing risk for development. Sometimes it's a lack of risk-taking that might be an obstacle to development and poverty alleviation. And sometimes what we need is systems and processes to make it possible for people to take more risks, because these risks are just needed for the development and escape out of poverty.